Hi, Christy here. I wanted to shoot a quick video because I found out late last night about whether or not I made the top three finalists for Zwift Academy. And I wanted to shoot a quick video to let everybody know that has been supporting me and encouraging me and cheering me on. Thank you guys so very, 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 very much for everything. The entire Austin, Texas cycling community, all of my friends and family on Facebook, my followers on Instagram and Strava, and also all of the ladies that participated in the Zwift Academy and didn't make it through to the semifinals, but continued to be a part of the Facebook Academy group page. You guys are so awesome. There are so many inspiring stories and supportive women in that group. So thank you guys so much for kind of sharing in this whole adventure with me. So I did get the email last night. I was actually on a bike ride because I was going crazy, not knowing. And so I was like, I'm going to just go for a 30-minute little spin, get some fresh vitamin D. And I'd pulled my phone out to take a selfie because I was being goofy. I had my massive like Smith optics time trial baseball helmet on. I'll see if I can post a picture down here. We'll see. But anyway, I had this thing on and I was like, oh, I look like an idiot. And I'd had a couple people pass me and like look at me like I was a crazy person. And then I realized I probably looked like a crazy person. So I pulled the phone out to take a picture. And as I was taking the picture, I had a little banner pop up from Kate V. And all I saw at the time was, Zwift Academy semifinalist. And so I stopped immediately and pull out my phone and open the email, and the very first sentence made it clear that I had not advanced to the finals. So I am not one of the three very talented, strong, wonderfully beastly finalists that's going through to Germany. So I put my phone back in my pocket. I didn't read the whole email because I was trying to you know, keep it together until I got home. And so I'm going to take a moment here and explain a little bit something about me that will put all of this in a little bit of context for those that don't know me personally. I am very passionate about cycling, about racing, about women's cycling and the cycling community here in Austin, Texas. And passionate isn't even really strong enough of a word to describe it. Anybody that knows me personally and spends any time with me gets it because I can't contain my excitement about how much I love just this entire community and being on my bike and racing and training and the adrenaline rush that I get from it and the feeling of freedom that I get on my bike. It's just, it's amazing. And so when this opportunity came up to do the Zwift Academy, just like with most things that I do in life, I didn't half-ass it. I don't know how to half-ass something. The only way I know how to do this kind of thing is all in. And so we've actually joked about this. Like I'll be in a Peloton, like, and I'll go to attack or I'll get off the front and my breakaway partner will be like, this is never gonna stick, and I'll be like, all in, baby. I'm all in. If it sticks or doesn't, there's no halfway doing this. So anyway, I'm all in. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally and everything, like all in. And I've really put myself out there as well, throughout this process because this is so exciting to me and this is such a great opportunity. And so I wanted everybody that was interested in following along to be able to, and to see all of those crazy emotions that I was experiencing and, not only the hard work physically, but mentally the preparation that went into it and all of that stuff all combined into one. So that's why I put myself out there. So much during this process. And I'll be honest, going as the semifinals wrapped up, I really thought that I was one of the three finalists. I had put up some really good race results. I'd won a freaking world championship, for God's sake. And I'd been stalking all my competitors or the other semifinalists online. We were all kind of stalking each other and I was watching their numbers and my numbers, and everybody is so strong. Like there's massive watts in this group. But, I felt fairly confident that between my race results, and my numbers that I would be invited to Germany. So, that also made it a little easier to put myself out there because, I thought I was going all the way, but I was wrong. And, it could be any number of things. It could be, those women, the three that are going are so strong. but I can't sit here and second guess, like, what if I'd done this or what if I'd done that? What if I hadn't done the world time trial championship? You know, then I would have been able to put up better numbers because I would have been more recovered. Or forget it. Okay, so when I got home from, this is like backtracking now, but when I got home from my ride, I had only gone like on a 5-minute spin or a 30-minute spin. I got home, I opened up the email and I read the whole thing. And because I was so fully invested in this and so 100% all in with every fiber of my being, it hurt a lot. I cried pretty much all night long last night. um, and I'm opening myself up here too because I think it's important that people see the vulnerability. I was really disappointed, not only for myself, but also for everybody that was rooting for me. I kind of felt a little bit like I'd let everybody down. You know, I'm not going to be able to get Austin, Texas to Germany this year, and we're not going to be, you know, featured in the Zwift videos and stuff like that. But, you know, I gave it everything that I had. I could not have done anything differently. I could not have put out one more watt. And so this year, my best just wasn't quite what was necessary or what they were looking for in this specific instance. My strengths maybe weren't exactly what they were looking for, and I didn't get through, and that's okay. So the other thing about my personality is I don't quit. I'm like a dog on a freaking bone. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history on me. You know, I started cycling back in late 2012. I hired a coach immediately. My first year of racing was 2013. I had been cycling maybe like 6 months and signed up and raced like every race on the calendar in Texas in 2013, pretty much. I'm probably literally, like the actual literal meaning of literally, I think I raced every single race on the calendar or pretty close to it. I was living in Corpus Christi, so that meant driving 4, 5, 6 hours to races and doing this race and then driving all the way home. I was a Cat 4 woman. I was on a team that didn't have any other female racers. So my coach at the time, I was on Team ALS, which was an amazing team. And we had some really great guys that were very supportive, but I didn't actually live in the same city that most of the team lived. And the females that were on the team were all triathletes. So I didn't really have that, that sisterhood that you get with a female team. And I didn't have anybody to really learn from, like in a race, to do teamwork with and to teach me things like in the race. I had a great coach, but he couldn't be in the race with me. So anyway, raced all these races, didn't win a single race my entire first year. I probably honestly legitimately raced 50 races. But if you count the driveway training series crits that they were having every week, I would guess that I probably raced 50 races in my first year and started out finishing dead last, you know, getting dropped right from the line. And a lot of people are like, you know, why is she doing this? This is stupid. You know, I was a CrossFitter and an Olympic lifter before this, and I was decent at it. So why would I like leave that and go to this thing that I'm not that, or that I wasn't that great at? I mean, I was pretty good, but anyway, for me, it was the constant progression. So I started out getting dropped immediately. And rather than discouraging me, that lit a fire under my freaking butt. And I was like, next race, I am not going to get dropped in the first 5 minutes. I'm going to last at least a half an hour. And so I did. And then after that, you know, I'd last like the whole race. And then eventually, like by the end of the year, I was finishing, you know, like top maybe 25, 30% of the field, which for me, and with the group, you know, like I was finishing with the peloton, which for me was huge. And so that was the motivation that I needed to keep going. In June of my very first year, I came a little bit more. I came into cycling fairly strong and fairly athletic from that CrossFit and Olympic lifting background. So I was stronger on the bike than my skill level. So, and I didn't, you know, you don't come into bike racing just like knowing everything. I didn't know silly stuff like don't cross wheels in a crit. Guess what? June at a driveway training race, I crossed a wheel, and went down hard and broke my collarbone, very first year. And at that point, you know, I had a lot of people like, you know, why are you doing this? Like, and I couldn't wait to come back, like the entire time. Like I had to have surgery, I had to have plate and screws put in. And I was like, I could not wait to get back on my trainer and get back out there. And people are like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're this Cat 4 women's racer. You haven't won a single race. You're finishing mid-pack. Like, and I'm not talking like the cycling community. They weren't like that, but people that knew me in my other life, like as a CrossFitter and, family and stuff that just that weren't involved and didn't really, 100% understand what it meant to me and how important it was to me. So, I got back up. I recovered from my surgery. I got back out there and got back to training. By the end of the year, I was racing again. Again, mid-pack finishes. That was 2013. 2014, first race of the year was the Tour of New Braunfels race weekend. And they had a dedicated women's 4 category, which was amazing. Because, most of the races, at least here in Texas, it's a combined 3-4 field, and you have Prema 3s who have been 3s forever, and so the brand new women's 4s have a really hard time moving up. So they had a dedicated women's 4 field, and we were combined with the 3s, but we at least got scored separately, which is awesome. So very first race was the crit, and then the second day was the road race, and I managed to pull out a second place finish of the women's 4s in the crit. So super stoked. That was like my best finish to date. So excited. And then the next day, road race, I had a talk with my coach. I was a little uncomfortable because I didn't know a lot of the women in the field, and it was raining and the roads were super slick. And, I didn't have any wheels that I trusted. There were very few wheels that I trusted, and there were so many unknowns. And my coach told me, you've got this amazing engine that you don't even realize you have. He's like, what I want you to do is I want you to sit in for a little while, and then, when you're warm and when you're ready, I want you to attack, and I want you to go off the front, and I want you to time trial the hell out of that road race. And that's what I did. And it just took somebody like telling me that I could do it and believing in me. And not that I hadn't had people believing in me, but I didn't believe in myself. And so something clicked that day, and I finally convinced myself I can do this. And I attacked, and I time trialed my ass off away from that field, and I crossed the line solo without the field in sight. And it was my first race win as a women's 4, and in a dedicated women's 4 field. We weren't combined, and it was amazing. The next 2 weekends later was the next race, and it was the Irish Stanger Memorial stage race. And I, through no fault of my own this time, there was a really bad accident in the road race. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, went down super hard along with quite a few other girls, and ended up having to be airlifted out. Had some pretty significant head trauma. My helmet saved my life, and also had a really severe compound fracture to my other collarbone that I hadn't broken previously. They actually ended up scraping road paint off the end of my bone in the ER. So yeah, that was not fun. I don't remember much of that day at all, any of that day at all, or the weeks around it. And again, obviously required emergency surgery this time, a massive plate, lots of healing time. But once again, I wanted to get back on the bike, and I was encouraged by that race win, the weekend before, and I knew that I still had it in me. And, you have all those thoughts swirling around in your head, like, I'm going to lose all of my fitness while I'm out, with this surgery and with this recovery. And I was just finally getting good, and I just finally figured out how to win, and now I'm going to have to start all over again. But, I have that drive, and I have that determination, and I have that passion. And I was like, you can't keep me down. So I'm coming back. I'm coming back, bitches. Watch out. So I did. One other thing about this was 2014. At the beginning of the year, and this is very relevant, I had tried out ATC Racing, which is my current race team. They're amazing. Anyway, they were dominating the Texas women's peloton at the time. They were killing it. And I had 2 good friends that were on ATC Racing, and I wanted to be on this team so bad. We joked that I had such a hard on for ATC. I'm sorry, I know. Sorry, kids. But anyway, I wanted to be on this team so bad. And they held tryouts. They had, originally they had said they had 2 positions. And so 4 or 5 girls, I think, tried out. And we went on a group ride with the team. And I was so excited. I was like, I'm definitely going to be on the team. And a couple of my friends that were on the team were like, we have to put it to a vote, but don't worry, you're in, don't worry, you got this. And so excited. And I let myself believe that I was already on the team. And then because of some budgetary issues, they had a couple sponsors fall through, I think, or something. Anyway, I don't know all of the details, but they ended up only being able to pick up one girl, and I was not that girl. So that was going into the 2014 season, and so bummed. Again, that time I was so convinced that I was on the team and so excited about it. Again, I cried for like a week over it. I was so just crushed because I was racing all by myself on this men's team, and, starting to figure out how the Peloton worked, and knew that I really wanted that camaraderie that comes with being on a women's team. But didn't work out that year. And honestly, it was for the best because, look, second race of the season, I freaking get taken out, life flight, massive broken collarbone, out for the bulk of the season. But so as I was coming back, I'd finally healed, and I finally gotten the approval to start riding my bike again. And I'd been training solo. And then finally my doctor gave me the approval to do group rides as long as I didn't crash again. That was his only stipulation. Rubber side down. Okay, doc. So it was one of my very first road rides back, and my friends that were on ATC said, "Hey, we're all doing this group ride on Saturday. Why don't you come out, and ride with us?" It was not just a specific ATC ride, but all of the or most of the ATC girls were going to be on that ride. So in the back of my mind, I was feeling super strong. I'd been training solo again for a while, and I was like, yes, I'm going to set myself up for next year with this team, and I'm going to go show them that, I'm back and I'm strong as ever, and hopefully get a spot on the team next year. So I wanted to get to know the girls a little bit better too, like actually ride with them and just be a part of that, community, and that I just filled up my iPhone storage. So starting the, taking up the video where I left off. Anyway, I wanted to be on this team, and so coming back from this collarbone break, and I joined this group ride. Well, long story short, about halfway through the ride, this was a really familiar route that everybody was familiar with that I had never ridden before, and I guess there was this gas station that had some really deep ruts, where trucks pull out and they dig these deep ruts across the road, and I didn't know that they were there, and I guess pretty much everybody else did, and they didn't get pointed out. And yeah, that was not pretty. So my tire caught one of these ruts and got wedged in it and just stopped. And it was after a descent, so we were booking it. We were probably going, I don't know, like 25, 30 miles an hour or more. And I went flying over the handlebars. Guess what? Broken collarbone again. Before I even got my first race back from my massive life flight trauma broken collarbone, I had another broken collarbone, and that one required surgery too. Yay. So that was gosh, what season was that? That was 2014, my second season, which pretty much I don't count because I didn't really race. I won, that one race early, and then that was pretty much it. So at the end of the year, I finally was able to come back, and I raced a couple driveway crits like at the very late season. In Texas, we have a super long season, so I think it was like September, October. Just getting comfortable being back in the Peloton and getting my race legs back under me and stuff. And so that was my non-existent 2014 season. Rolling into 2015, miracle of miracles, ATC called me up and invited me to join the team. And I was the happiest girl in the world. It was dream come true. I finally made the ATC racing team, and I was going to get to be on a team with these amazingly inspirational women and race with them and be taught by them and learn from them and, help them win and hopefully maybe get a win or two myself, and, just the whole everything that goes along with being on a women's team. So 2015 was my first year with ATC racing, and it was a pretty good year. I'm looking at my notes, but anyway, so I did my first big race where I travel outside of Texas. That was the OKC Pro-Am crits, and teammate Chelsea and we went and had a blast, and they were so much fun. And of course, I'm still a Cat 3 at that time, so I raced the 3-4, which was amazing. It was so wonderful. I mean, they didn't get the crowds and stuff that the P12 race got, but the 3-4 race was a lot of fun, and it was one of the early season races, and I attacked somewhere early in the race and got away solo. And so I'm racing this crit like a time trialing around the corners, and my team is back there blocking for me, and it was amazing. And one girl ended up bridging up to me, and as everybody that followed me in the Zwift Academy knows, I'm an engine, not a sprinter. I don't have much fast pitch twitch, which I'm working on fixing, but it came down to a sprint between the two of us, my breakaway partner and I, and she took me at the line, but I got second, and I was so excited. Like, that was such a big thing for me because it was on this huge platform with all these people watching, and I'd been like, mugging for the camera, time trialing this crit. So much fun. Got second, but super stoked. And then like I think a lot of women see this, it takes you forever to figure out how to win. And then once you figure it out, like once you figure out what it is that you have, what strengths you have and how to utilize them, it just starts rolling in. And so July, that was June. In July, I won like 4 driveway crits, the training series. So it was again the 3 4s, not like women's 1 2 3 or anything, but at the level that was the level I was at, and it was like the best thing ever. So I was on a roll. So I win the four driveway crits in July, and in August, I went with a friend to Hotter Than Hell, which is like this big major event that happens in Wichita Falls, and there were a couple of pros that were going to be there racing, and it was a P123 field. So I was racing the P123 field. So I was racing with the big girls, so excited. And I remember, I think Christina Goki-Smith was there, and I want to say maybe Lauren Stevens was, but maybe not. I might be thinking of somebody else. And Hannah Ross, who raced for Rally. I don't think she was on Rally yet, but she was on her way there. And anyway, so I was starstruck lining up at the line with these like amazing women. I was like, oh my God, this is really happening in the first day in the crit. And then guess what? Break happens. I make the break. It's like, 4 of us. There were 4 of us. Work in the field or work in the break. We stayed away. And of course, non-sprinter here, I took 4th out of the 4-girl break. But I was like, oh my God, like I was in this break with these amazingly strong women and actually like doing my work and keeping up. Anyway, amazing. The next day was the road race, which was, whatever. It was another road race. I did not finish well. I think it was mid-pack or something somewhere. Then the next day was the second crit. And I, again, was wrong place, wrong time. Going into a corner, I was on a wheel that somebody else wanted, and she'd been trying to fight me off this wheel for like the last lap or 2, and I was not letting her in, throwing that elbow and holding my ground. Well, she decided she wanted the wheel, and so she tried to take it going into a corner, and her hood, she was shorter than me, her hood of her handlebar caught the crook of the handlebar on my bike and turned my wheel, just smashed it to the left and directly into like a 6-inch curb. And so of course I end out and did not break a collarbone this time, but ended up in the Wichita Falls hospital for a week with a collapsed lung, several broken ribs. Yeah, that was 2015. So comeback kid, got a chance to do it again. Again, I was discouraged. I mean, every time that this happens, obviously, like you have your moment of grief, of what could have been, and what if I could just string together a whole freaking season without getting taken out or wiping myself out or whatever. Like, God, this is it's so frustrating. But at the same time, I just couldn't lose that drive. Sorry, my doggy's coming over to say hi to me. I couldn't lose that drive and that determination. And it made me want it that much more because, I get this little peek at like what I'm capable of if I could just not crash. And so I know, sorry. Anyway, that was 2015, Hotter Than Hell got taken out. So it was the end of the year, it was August, and our state road race, I was a Cat 3 at the time. Our state road race is at the end of September. It's usually hot as hell in Texas, end of September. It's super hilly. It's a really rough course. It's a hard man's course. Great for an engine like me, but requires climbing legs. It's super hilly. And I got out of the hospital and, got approval to start training again, but had damn video cut out again. Anyway, had decreased lung capacity, but was determined. So I had the points to cat up to a Cat 2, but I really wanted a daggone state championship win. I had not won, I'd won a couple races, but I hadn't won anything close to a state championship. And I was feeling really strong. I was one of the stronger Cat 3s in Texas at the time. And so I was like, I want to race this race, even though I'm not 100%, even though I don't have full lung capacity and, it's going to be hot and whatever, I'm going to do this race. Well, long story short, I lined up, I did the race. It was horrible. I got popped. I couldn't breathe. I mean, I got popped like halfway through. I finished the race and then pretty much fell over and collapsed. And yeah, it was not pretty. But after the race, I submitted my Cat 2 upgrade paperwork because, I was ready. So I started 2016 as a brand new Cat 2, still with ATC Racing, love them. And 2016 was going to be my learning season. Like, this was the season I was ready to take it to the next level. And so I'd put a couple of national races on the calendar, and I had a couple teammates that were going to be going with me to these national races, so we could support each other and travel together and stuff. And also I had put Masters Nationals on my calendar, which was, I think, in June or July last year, 2016. And my goal for Masters Nationals was, I was 36 years old, so I was in the 35 to 39 age group, and I wanted to come home with the TT title. That's what I do. I time trial. And so, that was my primary goal, and that was what I was training for. And my parents lived close to where Winston-Salem, where the Masters Nats were held, so they were coming, and so I decided I was going to go ahead and race the crit too. I raced the road race too, because I'm there anyway, and I'm a decent road racer, so I'm like, okay, I'll do the road race. Maybe something will happen, and I'll get away in a break, and then I'll do the TT and I'll do the crit, because my mom and dad are going to be there and they've never seen me race. And so crits are so great for spectators. And I was like, it's going to be great. My mom, my dad's going to be there. They're going to get to see me like going around in circles, and they'll see me every 2 minutes as I come by, and I'll be pulling the field around doing what I do, because I'm not a smart racer at this point. And, yeah, so the way that it was organized that year, Masters Nats, was, or actually, let me back up a minute. 2016 was great. Before that, I got my feet wet at the national level a little bit. I raced the Sunny King Crit and the Fort McClellan Road Race, both of which were on the PRT circuit. They were eye-opening experiences. I did not do well, but I learned so much. And then I got offered an opportunity to guest ride with Team Asahi Miura Zero, who I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of the name, but they'd come over from Japan, and they're racing the Joe Martin stage race. And I got offered a guest ride spot, which I was over the moon about, so excited. And they were also pulling in Starla Teddergreen, who races for Hawkins Berman, and she was also going to be guest riding with them. So I went to Arkansas, did the Joe Martin stage race, was overwhelmed. I mean, it was amazing. And I did not perform great, and I did not do nearly as much as I had hoped to do for the team to help them to succeed. But it was such an eye-opening experience for me. And Starla, love her. She took me under her wing and taught me so much. Not just about, how to race these types of races, but how to prepare mentally, and, watching her like make holes where there weren't holes, and just the way she moves so seamlessly through the peloton, up and back and side to side. And oh my God, it was amazing. And so it was such a great learning experience, even though my personal performance is nothing. Like, if you look it up on paper, I don't know, I was like 3/4 of the way down. I made all the time cuts until the final crit. I was super excited about that. I made the time cuts, and then the final day was the crit, and there's a massive hill in the crit. So I called it the hill repeat crit, and I got popped on one of the very first laps going up that hill, and got cut, before the end. So I didn't officially get scored for GC, and super bummed. But anyway, that was that. So fast forward, Masters Nats. So excited. I've trained my butt off, and I am confident. I am capable, if everything goes right, I am capable of bringing home that TT title for 2016 Masters Nats. I do the road race. So at this point, this was last year, I was still not a very smart racer. I still had a lot to learn. And, I still have a lot to learn, but I had a lot more to learn then. I was a very annoying vocal racer. And so, we start out with the road race, and it's like a freaking group ride. And I'm like, come on, guys, let's race our bikes. What are you doing? We're here to race. It's not a group ride. And I was that annoying person that there's always one or two or whatever, but I was that person. And I attacked over and over again. I blew myself up trying to get away from that group, because so many of them weren't doing anything. They were content to just sit in and wait for the sprint. And that's not how I race. And I wanted to make something happen, but I didn't quite have the pop at that time to get away from a field of that caliber at a national event. And so, I should have tried a couple times and then counted my losses and sat in and saved it for the sprint, but I didn't. So road race, I finished like back of the pack. I had blown every last match, and it came down to a massive field sprint, and I was like, meh. Anyway, hi Dad, as I come across the line. The second day was the crit, and the third day was the time trial. So crit, I was so excited. My dad was going to get to see me. My mom wasn't feeling well; she wasn't able to be there that morning, but my dad was there, and I lined up, and of course I did my thing. They blow the whistle, and I'm off from the gun, and I'm pulling the field around, and being a star, smiling for the camera, all the photo preems, whatever, and then I'm like, okay. And so it's one of the other strong girls, coming into a turn. I don't know, we were 3 or 4 laps in, and she comes around me. So I was like, okay. So I let her through, but then I got back on her wheel because, again, I'm not a very smart racer at this point. I don't know how to sit in. I have no patience, and she hit a corner wrong and took herself out going into this turn. And it was a pretty sketch course, and it wasn't. They didn't have the cattle gates that they use to designate the course barriers. They didn't have them padded, or there was no usually there's signage and stuff on them to help break the fall if you happen to get thrown into one. It wasn't there. So she took herself out. There was nowhere to go. I went down and hard into the gate. And so in the back of my mind at the time, I'm thinking, all I can think about is tomorrow's the TT. I came here for the TT. I'm racing the freaking TT. Gosh darn it. I'm laying on the ground. I'm bleeding. And so I'd hit my head, and it really wasn't that bad, but you know how heads bleed. So I'm bleeding like crazy. And I'd bitten, in fact, I don't know if you can see it in this video, but I'd bitten through my lip. So my tooth is like through my lip. I'm gushing. I was a hot mess. And anyway, I'm in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and they're trying to give me stuff. And I'm like, no, you can't give me anything. I have to race the time trial tomorrow. Like, you can't, no medicine. But of course, they were like, honey, you're not racing a time trial tomorrow. And they ended up administering the medicine. And, I was in the hospital again for a week with broken ribs, another slightly collapsed lung, and I think I had like a minor crack in one of my vertebrae. So that was how my Masters National debut went. I missed the time trial, and I was so upset. And the worst part about it, honestly, for me was I'm a daddy's girl. I love my dad. Hi, Dad. And my dad, my dad had to see me go down like that, and that hurt a lot. So that was not a good experience. And I don't mind hurting myself. I mean, it happens. You go down in bike racing, it happens. It's part of the sport. But for my dad to see it and to have to see me so vulnerable and in so much pain really, really hurt. And then for him to have to see the disappointment, that he knew how hard I'd worked for that time trial, and for him to have to share in that with me. And my mom too, after the fact in the hospital. That sucked. But comeback kid would not be dismayed. So, I think it was like a month later or a month and a half later was the Texas State Time Trial Championships. And so I got permission from my doctors to do the time trial. I was not allowed to group ride yet because I was not, they didn't want me falling off a bike and re-cracking a rib or anything like that. And my back was still healing. But they said, an individual effort, the time trial, you can train for and you can do this. So I was determined to win something, damn it. I didn't get my national title, but I'm going to bring home the state title. So I get back out there, I'm training, and I line up. I do the state TT, and I was not ready. Again, the repeat of the previous year with the state road race. I was not ready. I had no business racing it, but I did it. I proved to myself that I could get back on my bike, that I could get back out there, and that I could put myself back out there, and I could put myself back in the pain cave, and it would be okay. So I did. I think I finished like 3rd or 4th out of 4. But I was there. So that was a summary of my 2016. Then 2017 happened. So this is the whole point of this long and involved story. Point number one is, if you get a rejection, don't take it as a dead end. It is not a dead end sign. It's a detour sign. You just have to find another way. Or maybe you have to work a little bit harder to break through that wall, or whatever it is that caused that rejection. Don't let it, if it's something that you want, do whatever it takes and work as hard as you are capable of working. And be like that dog on that bone. So, with ATC racing, got that rejection the first year, and worked my butt off, trained, came back the next year that much stronger, that much better of a racer, and then got picked up, and it's been an amazing ride. So same thing with this Masters Nats thing. So I got didn't get to race 2016, but 2017, that was my goal. The entire year was built around Masters Nats. Going back, I was not going to race the crit, just the time trial and the road race, and that was my goal for 2017. So 2017 started out pretty well. I'd finally figured out how to use my strengths to win. I'm still not a sprinter. I still don't have, I'm not going to use a bad word, but I still don't have a sprint. I'm working on it though. My coach and I are working diligently to try to create some kind of fast twitch muscles in my legs. And I will get there. I don't like saying the negatives, so I can't say I'm not a sprinter, but I'm, let's see, I'm not one of the best sprinters. Let's put it that way. Anyway, we'd worked on a lot of other weaknesses, and I came into 2017 much more well-rounded, with a slightly better sprint than I'd had in previous years, a much better climber than I'd been in previous years, had a much more developed engine than I'd had in previous years, and most of all, smarter. Every single, like I had said, every single race that I do, I look at it as a learning experience. So if I don't finish on the podium, that's okay. As long as I took something from that race and I learned a lesson that I can use to improve future performance, and not make the same mistakes, then it was a success. And so, at this point I had 3 years of racing and learning over and over and over again. And 2017 has been amazing. So in 2017, with the exception of the very first road race that I entered, where, by the way, I made a plan with my coach, executed the plan, initiated a break, stuck the break the entire time with 3 other girls, and you guessed it, crossed the line 4th in the sprint. But with the exception of that race, I have finished on the podium in every single road race or time trial that I've entered this year. It's just been an amazing year. And in addition to that, I was invited to guest ride with Team Elevate for the team time trial for the Texas State Team Time Trial Championships, and we won the team time trial and set a new course record with working with them. And they were amazing to ride with. It was so much fun. I won both of the Texas State Road Race Championships that I entered. So I entered the Women's P12 State Road Race Championship the first day. I won that, and this is the very first year I've won. So I finally got my state championship jersey, and then I returned the next day for the age group racing, and crossed the line hand in hand with my teammate, which is amazing. We got into a break. She actually initiated a break, which I bridged up to, but we won. We each won our respective categories that day, so that was amazing. Went to Masters Nationals, raced the time trial. My coach did such a good job of peaking me at just the right time. Have never felt better in a race in my life, and won, I think, by 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, the margin of error was non-existent, but you know what? I won. I have got the Masters National Time Trial Championship title for 2017 for the 35 to 39 age category. It was such sweet, no, revenge isn't the right word, but it was so great to come back and after the previous year and to clinch that title. And then the next day in the road race, I raced so much smarter, and it was so funny because there were a couple of girls in our race that were pretty much like I was, like the previous version of me, and really trying to get away and really trying to make something happen. And it was really obvious fairly early. I tried like twice that they were not going to let something get up the road. I mean, in the state championships, in the national championships, it's like first place or nothing. I mean, if you get second or third, it's great, but you don't have that title. So you're not going to let somebody go up the road if you can prevent it. So anyway, sat in, raced smart, and ended up sprinting to second behind my very good friend Carolyn DeFore. So I got gold the first day in the time trial, silver the next day in the national championship road race. And at that point, I thought my season could get no better. However, I also got into ultra racing a little bit this year because I found I really love it, and I'll have to do another video later on ultra racing and all how wonderful it is for anybody that's interested to get into it. But I started out with a couple of 6-hour races and then progressed to 12-hour races, and that's the most I've done at this point, is like 12 hours or 250-ish miles. And so I entered the Ultra Marathon Cycling Association's national 12-hour time trial championship race, and won. So that was in Glen Rose. It was the Texas Time Trials. And I actually was leading even the men's overall winner up until the very last lap when I cramped and fell apart and he passed me. But anyway, that was amazing. So, so two national time trial championships in a single year. And then it gets even better. I went to the world 12-hour time trial championships. And this, of course, fell right in the middle of Zwift Academy, or right at the beginning of the semifinals. So I had to figure out how I was going to cram these 7 semifinal workouts in with a 19-hour drive to California, the 12-hour race, the 19-hour drive straight back, and then any kind of recovery time that I had to build in there, and then get in these 7 workouts. But never say never, right? So I did. I went to California. I won the 12-hour time trial world championship title for 2017. I earned my rainbow stripes. So happy. And then I came home. We drove 19 hours straight back through. And I commenced the Zwift Academy workouts and gave it everything I had. And then that brings us to now. So the other thing that I actually forgot to say earlier is I meant to mention this. So it goes back to like rejection. Before the World Championship and before any of that, and before the Zwift Academy, just before the Zwift Academy, after I had won my state championships, I put together a professional resume, my cycling resume, and I submitted it to, I think, 8 or 9 US based UCI teams and domestic elite teams. So I really wanted to race professionally on a professional team, or at least be on a B team, be on a team that they could use me for my strengths, that I could be a part of that and learn at the next level and go. And I felt like I was ready to start racing, to really make a dent at the national level and not just, hang on the back like I had done in my previous experiences. So I submitted my resume. I did hear back from several of them, and they were very polite and very kind, but basically just said, hey, our roster's full for the 2018 season, but thank you. And then there were several that I never heard back from. And I did not let that stop me. So that's when I decided to go ahead and register for the Zwift Academy, because I was like, well, all right, I can't get my foot in the door this way. I'm 38 years old. I'm older. I understand that, but this is a golden ticket opportunity. This is like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, and not like it's just pure luck. I mean, obviously a lot of skill goes into it, but this is a once in a lifetime opportunity that I'm going to take a stab at. So I did. It didn't work out. I didn't make the finals. But I'm not going to let that stop me. So I am going to continue to train my rear end off, quite literally, through the off season. And I'm going to come back in 2018, and hopefully my plan is get myself to some of these PRT races, race the national calendar a little bit, and we'll see where it goes from there. But hopefully I'll still be somebody that you're interested in following my journey, through the coming years. And who knows, maybe I'll earn my way onto one of those teams the old-fashioned way at some point, even though I am an old lady. So anyway, if you take nothing else from this, please accept my gratitude, my heartfelt thanks for all the support that you've given me. I'm honored. I'm humbled. I don't understand what I did to earn so many people being interested in what I'm doing, but thank you. Don't ever give up on your dreams. They're hard work. You're going to have to make sacrifices. God, I've made so many sacrifices. I've had friends, one of my friends turned 30 and had a 30th birthday party right in the middle of Zwift Academy, and I had to miss it because I had a massive block that I had to get a workout in. It's just little things like that, but it's, it adds up. I sacrifice a lot for this hobby of mine, but very willingly, because I love it so much. And so don't give up. If it's worth having, it's worth, you got to work for it. If it was easy, I don't know, like sometimes I'm glad that it didn't come super easy to me right off the bat, because I don't think I would appreciate it so much. Like I had to bust my ass to get where I'm at now. And it has made me appreciate where I'm at and all the work that went into it. And it helps me look forward knowing that the sky's the limit. I mean, look at how far I've come in 4 years, and it was a lot of work, but I have just as much work left in me, and I can continue to work and hopefully um, continue to make progress. But yeah, so don't let failure, if that's what you want to call it, or performing less than what you had hoped, discourage you. Use it as a motivator to get better. Use it as a fire under your ass to get out there, to put in the work, to improve, and then appreciate the baby steps. Every single one of them. Every, you lasted half the race when before you'd gotten popped in the first 5 minutes, or, you finally finished top 10, and then, oh my God, you make a freaking podium in the women's four. It is the best, enjoy every minute along the journey. And you're going to have rejection. It happens. There is so much rejection in this sport. Don't even get me started on sponsors. I have been trying to get personal sponsors for about 2 years, and I finally got some really, really, really wonderful sponsors this year. But for every yes that I've received, I have probably received 20 no's or just been completely ignored. And you just got to be okay with it, and you just got to keep trying, and you just got to keep fighting and keep putting yourself out there. And don't be afraid of failing, and don't be afraid of letting people down, because they're still going to be in your corner at the end of the day. They're still going to cheer you on. And then when you are finally successful, it's gonna be that much better for everybody. So anyway, I'm a rambler. I'm sorry this video is so horribly long, but I guess I'll end it by saying thank you again so much to everybody. Thank you to Zwift and to Canyon SRAM for the amazing opportunity. It really was. I'm coming out stronger, more well-rounded, and a hell of a lot more patient than I was before. And stay tuned for fun stuff in the 2018 season. We'll see where it goes. Bye, everybody.